Robert Whittaker picks Gilbert Burns to beat Sean Brady in their upcoming fight on September 7th. Coming off 2 losses in a row, the Brazilian former welterweight challenger has found himself in a difficult position. As he admits, the fight against Sean Brady might be crucial in terms of defining the future course of his career. He's not a young fighter anymore, and if he wants to fulfill his ambition to conquer a UFC title, the only realistic scenario would be to break his losing streak with the Brady fight and accumulate multiple wins against top opposition at welterweight. Fans still haven't quite given up on him, and most of them still remember that he suffered a serious injury in the first round of his fight against Belal Muhammad, which largely contributed to his loss, and that in his next fight against JDM, he looked good right before getting finished. So the Gilbert story might not be over yet, and the performance in his upcoming bout will likely give a clear answer on his place in the division and his potential as a contender. Robert Whittaker shares thoughts on the matchup, picks Gilbert Burns to win the fight, and explains why.
I think Gilbert Burns is one of the best MMA grapplers of all time.
Absolutely.
He's phenomenal at grappling, period. But in terms of MMA grappling, I think he's one of the best of all time.
Dude, if this was prime Burns against Sean Brady, I have no doubt that Burns would win it. But coming off of 2 losses, he is 38. It's going to be about who has more in the tank, in my opinion.
Yeah, but the loss against Belal, he tore his shoulder cuff or whatever.
That's right.
And it was an ugly fight. It was in the first he did it, and it was an ugly fight from then on. With the JDM fight, he was winning until he took a knee to the dome, right? Yeah. But he was winning, so I thought he was looking good up until that point. So I don't know. My money's on Burns, okay, but crazier things have happened.
Jon ANIK shares frustration over the fact that Tony Ferguson will likely not be inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame and discusses difficulty of high achievement in the lightweight division. Speaking with John McCarthy and Josh Thompson, UFC's legendary play-by-play commentator revealed that another lightweight legend of the UFC, Jim Miller, will soon be inducted into the Hall of Fame under the wing of the modern era, and this naturally created the Tony Ferguson comparison, whose career was being discussed by the 3 at the time. It seemed absurd to John, Big John, and Josh that someone like Jim Miller will be in the Hall of Fame, especially under the category of the modern era of the sport, when Tony Ferguson won't be. Tony's fall has been one of the most unpleasant ones for the MMA community and fandom. As we all watched once a boogeyman of the division with 12 straight wins, the man picked to solve the Khabib puzzle, start quickly deteriorating and go on an 8-fight losing streak, finally seemingly retiring after his loss to Michael Chiesa. Whether his once legendary run will be enough for getting him into the Hall of Fame is not known.
It's hard to look past Tony Ferguson and be like, hey, he's good here. And even though I shared the cage with him, I knew he was good before that. I knew that he was someone that he had a chin on him, he had a beard on him, he could take a shot, but he was also very crafty on the ground and very creative on the feet. And when you're dealing with someone who has that amount of cardio and conditioning and is willing to walk through your shots, and if you do take them down, understands, I don't need to stay here, but I can stay here. Those are the ones that give you the biggest problems. And I'm on the fence a little bit about the Hall of Fame, but I'm also right there saying he is one of the greats.
Yeah,
especially in the toughest weight class ever. That's the thing. That's the hardest part, is to do what he did in the toughest weight class in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, the Hall of Fame is tricky. We have the 4 wings. We do the best I can. I've hosted it for 13 years, but it is certainly imperfect, right? Because it would seem as though Jim Miller's work is going to be acknowledged in the Hall of Fame. And if Jim Miller gets into the modern era wing of the Hall of Fame and Tony Ferguson does not, that would not appear to make any sort of...
Tony Ferguson deserves to be in the UFC's Hall of Fame.
CHAEL Sonnen comments on Jon Jones' future after the Stipe fight, stating he doesn't believe that Jon will retire after the fight, but he also doesn't believe that Jon will stay to fight Aspinall or any other challenger in order to test himself further or solidify his legacy. The American gangster's point is that the only factor for Jon Jones after the Stipe fight, as it relates to his motive to continue fighting, will be the financial aspect, with Jon Jones himself recently hinting that his decision to retire after the planned Miocic fight can be changed by a highly lucrative offer from the UFC, and Dana happily agreeing with his point. It is safe to say that in case Jon defeats the 42-year-old former heavyweight champion, what will then be in the center of attention is UFC's new contract offer to Jon. The last time Bones and the company had a difficult time between them was the whole Francis situation, when Jon still hadn't made his comeback and was publicly expressing his frustration toward UFC as he believed the company didn't value him enough and the Francis fight wasn't nearly lucrative enough. Well, this time, UFC might actually break the bank and give Jon what he wants, effectively doing the same for the fans.
I don't believe Jon is going to retire after Stipe. Like, there's no part of me that believes that, but I also don't believe he's going to stick around with his dying urge to fight with Tom Aspinall or Pereira should he come up, or Francis or any other name. I think Jon is not done earning money. That's what I think. I think that is what will keep him involved, which is why I come to the conclusion that we don't have any concern about a retirement after Stipe. And by the way, I also maintain for you it wouldn't matter the outcome of that match. Like, a lot of times we go, hey, if they get a win here, they're probably going to retire. Well, if he gets speed, he's probably going to retire. Like, no, I do not think that will affect that decision in the least.
Stipe Miocic reveals Jon Jones might have sent a spy to his camp, and his coach trying to catch potential spies in the gym, threatening to break people's phones. The long-anticipated fight between Jones and Stipe still hasn't been announced after its initial cancellation due to Jones's injury. Dana still keeps battling with fans and the media over the issue of Jones being ranked #1 in the pound-for-pound rankings, and his decision to reschedule the Stipe fight, instead of making the title unification bout between Jon and Tom Aspinall, who is the interim heavyweight champion, and the most interesting matchup for Bones at this time. It seems the Miocic fight is certainly next for Jones, but whether he will stay in the sport and defend his belt against Aspinall if he defeats Stipe is still under question. Dana's obviously still hopeful that Jon can be persuaded to stay, and Jon himself has given fans some hope by hinting that if the offer from the company is interesting enough, he will consider the option. For now, both Jon and Stipe are preparing for their matchup, and recently in a conversation with Rampage Jackson, Stipe revealed that he and his team are concerned about potentially having spies in their camp who can give information about Stipe's preparations to Jon Jones. The former heavyweight champion opened up on this after Rampage told him that before his own fight against Jon, he found out Jon had planted a spy in his camp.
I don't know. I mean, I hope he wasn't, but
I bet you Jon Jones had somebody in your camp. I guarantee you he's watching you. He watched me in my camp. He had a spy in my camp.
Yeah, well, one thing about my coach is that we have like big ass pictures that says, "Do not use your cell phone." He's like, "I'll break your phone," and he's chased people down, and like my coaches chase people down, and like, "Give me your phone," and they go delete, and they go into delete it again, and like, "All right, don't come back." That's fucking shitty, dude. That's kind of shit. Like if someone's not there, it's awkward. It's not like a I don't know, like Bally's or something. It's like, everyone that's there. It's a good family. There's a lot of people there, but everyone. You see the faces and stuff like that. So
yeah.